All right, and this is the Fooladi Fitness Podcast episode number 7, joined today by my guy Jacque the Ripper, an absolute monster when it comes to calisthenics, bodybuilding, street lifting, and so forth, as well as a man who's very deeply attuned to the spiritual nature of reality. So I appreciate you joining the podcast, man, and I'm ready to chop it up.
Oh, thank you, my brother. I appreciate it.
No doubt, no doubt. So yeah, we connect on a lot of different topics, man, so it's going to be a great conversation for sure.
Definitely.
So I wanted to start off kind of by asking you a little breakdown for the background of your life and what led you down to the path that we see you today.
Well, you mean the spiritual path?
So we can break it down into two parts, maybe just to start off with the physical, and then we'll get into the spiritual path too.
Okay, well, they're pretty much symmetrical with me, man. I lost my mom at 13. She was 36. That was when I started working out at 9, but by 13, I was starting to take it more serious. Once my mom passed, I really started getting more locked in because I needed something to latch on to for discipline and just something to keep me busy around that time. So this was 2006. So that was at the same time I was building spiritually, because working out till failure at that young age, my mom, her passing was my motivation. So I was intuitively connecting with her spiritually. So me working out every day, it wasn't for physical results. It was for me to spiritually connect with my mom who had just passed. So that was my motivation. And then as I kept working out, my spirit was evolving as well, because obviously you got to live righteous. You have to be a truth teller. You have to be one who stands on principles to grow spiritually, because you can work out and be dead spiritually. So you have to make sure that you're working out as well as empowering your spirit. So that was the beginning of that, and then it's just been evolutionary ever since.
Love that, man. So it's basically went hand in hand with each other, and that's kind of what I promote with my brand, Mind, Body, and Soul. So it kind of went same thing with you. So your mom passed, and you're starting to work out. You're starting into a spiritual path. What was like the first method or technique you used to kind of like blend everything together? Was it a certain workout regimen? Was it a certain spiritual path or spiritual practices you were doing?
Well, no, it was watching the conditions. So are you in America?
Yes.
Okay, so you familiar with the conditions, the history, and the political, socioeconomic history in America, the educational history? You familiar with that? I can't hear you. I'm sorry. Are you familiar with the the political history, educational history, socioeconomic history?
Yes.
Okay, so that history is a rough history, and a lot of people don't like to discuss it because it is a very, very bloody, violent history and unjust history. And as I learned that, being a black man in America, as I began learning that, that's what catapulted my energy and spirit as well, because I'm like, I have to remain, because then it started making sense. I started putting two and two together. I started looking at the conditions of people and looking at the conditions of society, the system, and everything else. So I'm like, okay, now this is why everything is flowing like this. This is why everything is. So I have to be an example. I have to stand on righteous principles, because this system promotes wickedness. It doesn't give many divine righteous people as examples in the forefront. You get more like sport and play and more entertaining examples, but not righteous examples. So I said that I'm going to take it upon myself to be a righteous example for brothers in my circle, those in my community, and abroad. So that's what motivated me, because I realized as I started studying, I started realizing that the more wicked you live, the more you're dying. And it doesn't mean you'll die right away, but it's like a slow death, a spiritual death. And you won't be successful. No matter what you have on a carnal level, you won't ever be successful spiritually dying, because being successful with God and successful with the world is two different things. So I always wanted to be successful with God. I always wanted to please God. I always wanted to be accepted by God. I wanted to be favorable to God, so that I have energy and peace and contentment of mind and creativity and joy. You know, that's when God is with you. If God is not with you, you're under constant anxiety and grief. So this is for people who may not realize that you don't know God. because when you know God, you're fearless. You have courage, you have power, you have energy, you have enthusiasm, you have love, and you want to see others rise as well. But if you don't know God, then you're going in the total opposite direction.
100%, 100%. And was there a specific moment on the journey that you kind of, it all clicked for you, like a tipping point that kind of made you realize that this is like the path that you're supposed to be on, that this is the right way, even though, like you said, in the world that we live in today, it's the complete opposite of what is being pushed out for a reason. So what was that point for you? Or was it like accumulation of everything that kind of just molded into one and just kind of started making sense over time?
No, the wicked culture that we currently know has been in place for 6,000 years. We're at the current, actually, we're in the 7,000 year now. But this wicked authority that you're witnessing in America and other places had power within the last 2,000 years, but it started in 6,000 years. That process of lying and stealing and wickedness and taking the power away from the people, the righteous power, basically giving the wicked authority over the righteous. That process started 6,000 years ago. So we're at the end of that now. We were just born in this particular day and time of this process. 6,000 year process is what I like to call it. So it was a process that God put us through to test the natures. So this whole thing that we're dealing with in America and in the world of principalities, of wickedness and compromise, God wanted to show us that there's no power or success in rebellion against the law of God. There's no power or peace or success in deviation and disobedience to the law of God. So God had to give Satan power to show us why we shouldn't be wicked. Because if Satan didn't have if Satan couldn't exercise rulership, authority, and power, then no one would pay Satan any attention. They would automatically assume righteousness is the way to go because that was the current authority. But when you give Satan authority and power and dominion, then people will look at that and say, I'm supposed to be like Satan because Satan has power, influence, and authority. But it's going to test the righteous, because are you willing to compromise righteous principles to fit in with the wicked world for gain or what you think is success, whatever that may look like? So that's what this whole 6,000 year process was all about. And unfortunately, or fortunately, God had to use a certain group of people to carry out that purpose, that agenda. And these are the Caucasian people as we know it today, or the European people. They were the ones chosen for this wicked authority.
And when you speak on the righteous principles, what would you say are your view on what those righteous principles are? Like, what are the set morals and codes that you kind of live by, that you kind of preach on your channel as well?
Truth, number one. I mean, once you live in truth, everything else falls in place. A lot of people like to complicate righteousness. It's simple. You know, it's really simple. You just have to know what the sins are. What is the transgression of the law of God? What displeases God? What are the sins? That's what you want to stay away from. It's not knowing what righteousness is. It's about understanding how to stay away from wickedness. Because once you come away from wickedness, you're automatically going to be on a righteous path, because you can't serve both. So understanding lust, greed, pride, envy, jealousy, sloth, laziness. These are sins. Withholding knowledge, that's a cardinal sin. If God blesses you with knowledge, it's your duty to pass that along, not to hold it to yourself, because you once was ignorant or once did not know. So once you come into knowledge, it's your duty to pass that. So these are certain things that, once again, we have not been taught, because Satan has been the boss, and Satan does not promote God's way or the righteous way. So America is a democracy, and a democracy is a demonic rulership. So in a democracy, you're not going to learn the true reality of God, because that would be counterproductive to Satan's rule. So Satan has to lie and trick you about God and about yourself, so that you fall in his tricks and traps. Satan is a hell of a character, because he won't be successful if he tell you the truth.
So it's basically the idea of following the truth, and then everything else will fall into line, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, once you understand the truth and you internalize truth, which means you live by truth. You
Mm-hmm.
don't be a liar. You live by truth and you live upright, and you'll start to see it manifest. But there
Mm-hmm.
is certain laws that we have to live by, and those laws are rooted in our nature and in the universe. You know, like I teach semen retention. That's a law that I teach my male clients and my female clients. I teach them celibacy or refraining from lust, or
Mm-hmm.
well, lust. That would be a sin, one of the deadly sins, lust. So Satan comes through your physical desires. We all have a desire to eat food. We all have a desire to procreate. We all have a desire to live, long. We all have a desire to want to come up in life, to elevate in life. So in those natural desires, Satan is right there with a trick waiting for you. So
Mm-hmm.
he knows that we need food to live. So he puts fast food and preservatives and junk food and chemical food, make it easily available. He makes the women strip down and put images on the internet to make you bow to your lustful desires. He'll make you compromise for righteousness, for gain, or for wicked gain, to making you believe that you have to do that to earn a living, or to make your way through life by compromising. So Satan
Mm-hmm.
has the authority to do that. But we are never supposed to compromise righteousness for any kind of gain. It doesn't matter what it looks like. So your faith in God is literally going to sustain you in Satan's world.
Mm-hmm. And speaking on that, when it comes to like semen retention, that's like one of the main things that you talk about on your channel. It's one of the main things I talk about on my channel, and I've been on a streak on this journey for 3.5 years now, and
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure you've gone for long bouts as well. But I wanted to ask you kind of like, where did you first learn about it, and what was your initial thoughts about it? How did it help impact the different aspects of your life, mentally, physically, spiritually? Kind of like a whole rundown of your experience on this very profound and powerful practice.
Yeah. Elijah Muhammad was the one who initiated semen retention. That teaching has been around for a long time, ancient, but it wasn't in
Mm-hmm.
America until the 1930s. No one knew about it until the 1930s, of semen retention and its purpose. Men may have known, or may have accidentally or unconsciously have, been practicing it without being aware. But the awareness became known in the 1930s within America. So what it did for me, I learned about it on the internet, just scrolling through, and it's just a random video I watched, and it didn't strike me right away because I'm not interested in things just for superficial benefits, but it made sense in terms of gaining control of your desires and urge. You never want to, as a man especially, you never want your urges to master you. You always want to remain the master of your body and your mind and your spirit. So that's what caught my attention, because I always want to be in control and not out of control. Same thing with people who do drugs or overeat. That's not a drug, but that's the same idea of you're out of control. You don't have balance, and that's a mental thing. Where
Mm-hmm.
in your mind you have to maintain balance and control. You can't let yourself get out of control. And semen retention is serious because every time you waste your seed, not only is it killing you, because it's designed to procreate, it's designed for you to give life. So every time you do that outside of that law of nature, it's killing your mind and it's killing your spirit, because it's unnatural to do that outside the righteous law. So every time you act upon unnatural laws, then it kills the power of your mind and your body. And that's why you feel like that after you act in that way, because it's killing you. It's not
Mm-hmm.
meant, that practice or procreate, to ejaculate is meant to procreate or to have a child. So if you're just doing that, just wasting your seed, just irresponsibly, then it's killing you. It's killing your spirit and your mind. And that's,
Mm-hmm.
and men who do that you'll notice that. But when you come away from that practice, it empowers you, and you get, it's certain scriptures, like, if we don't have to go into religion, but if you look at the Bible, it talks about the story of Samson and Delilah. The Bible is coded, so you
Mm-hmm.
have to understand the codes of the Bible to understand what it's talking about. So that scripture of Samson and Delilah is actually talking about sexual attraction. It's talking
Mm-hmm.
about the hair, his hair, which was long, and when he cut it, he became weak. Hair symbolizes sex. It symbolizes attraction. So that's what hair in the Bible symbolizes. And when he wasted his seed, he became weak. When he kept his seed and allowed it to grow like his hair was growing, he became stronger. So that's what that story is actually all about. And it's very important for men to understand that, because if we do not maintain our stance on that practice, we will never reach our fullest potential mentally, spiritually, or physically.
Yeah, the story of Samson. I think I researched it not too long ago, but the vow of Nazarite, which is what all of the people in Samson's like guild or clan were doing, was actually like a vow of celibacy, because I guess long hair back in the day was a sign of a celibate man. So if you, like you said, read it in between the lines and know the codes of the Bible and all these religious texts and all these ancient sacred holy books, they kind of all point in the direction of celibacy, semen retention, as a key pillar to spiritual development. And now people like me and you, and in today's day and age, the people that are watching this are kind of getting this information and understanding that how it's being so attacked for a reason. Like, it's being so promoted the other way for a reason. All these promiscuous sites, all these lustful just magazines, all these lustful movies, this and that is all there for reasons, not just because for your pleasure, but it's also taking that pleasure and your power at the same time. So
it kills the God in you.
Yeah. If you want to expand on that more, go for it.
Yeah, it kills the God in you every time you do that. Anytime you act in rebellion, period, regardless of what it is, it kills the God in you, because God hides himself from rebellious people. So every time you act out of a rebellious behavior or mentality, God slowly removes himself from you, and you'll start to behave like a devil or like an animal the more God removes himself, because God created us. So the least God is with you, then the more you are related to the animals or the beasts of the field. The more God is with you, then you elevate and become the human being you're supposed to be, because the human being is supposed to be the greatest manifestation of God. But the least amount of God that's in you, then you're more like an animal. The more God in you, then you're like a human being. But that just shows you people are not human beings. They're animals in human flesh.
Yeah, going to like Vedic type of philosophies, the lowest chakra is your root chakra, that is basically tied into, like you just said, food, shelter, procreation. So if people are always living in that, their consciousness can never level up to that God state or to that just divine state where you kind of are able to actualize your fullest potential mentally, physically, spiritually, and just become the person that you are meant to be, that you inhabited this body, this mind, this soul, to actually fulfill a certain purpose. So when you got on semen retention, you started understanding these things. What were kind of some of the initial benefits or the initial effects that you saw within yourself, and eventually later on down the line as your streak continued to build up and you stayed on this journey for however long that you've been on so far?
Yeah, the longer you go, the more you're able to create your own reality. And that is extremely powerful, because many of us allow others to create our reality. We are so weak and cowardly and afraid, and we put our life in other people's hands, whether they're wicked or not. We don't care. We just, since we're not living and we're not godly, then we're willing to put our life in other people's hands. But when God is with you and God is in you, and the longer you go on this righteous path and you overcome the pleasures of your flesh, period, then you tap into certain powers where you are able to manifest your own reality. And you're going to be tried and tested, and God knows your weak points, so you're going to be tried and tested. But it's a beautiful thing, dude. It's a beautiful process. It's difficult. It's not for everybody. It's only for select chosen few who will maintain their position and maintain their righteous posture. Like, that's very difficult in this society, but it gets easier the longer you go. But in the beginning, it's going to be very tough, because you have these habits and these temptations around you. But the more you realize that you want to please God and come away from this wicked world, it gets easier and easier. And then God starts to reveal to you more and more of himself and herself and the powers that are actually buried within you, because the powers are there. They're just not being cultivated. But the longer you go on the righteous path, your powers begin to blossom. It's beautiful.
And I love what you said right there, how the longer you go on this path, the more God is revealed to you through the power that was already within you. Like it was already there the entire time.
Yeah.
And this kind of like acts as the catalyst, is what I like to say. It's kind of like you put like gasoline out on the floor and you take a match and it just boom, it just takes everything that was already there before and just ignites it and takes it to the next level. So going along with that, what were some other practices they implemented with semen retention, with working out, with the spiritual path that eventually kept elevating you further and further along your just overall development?
Sacrifice, being willing to accept the abuse of the people, like not getting angry at ignorant people. Like let's say if I'm speaking to someone, teaching them about their diet or about semen retention or righteous principles, and their energy is not I think it should be, or they don't respond properly, I don't let it upset me. I accept the abuse of the people to spread God's message. So that's huge with God, because that shows God that you're willing to sacrifice and you're willing to die for the mission, for the purpose. So that means a lot to God. So God can use you. You're a worthy vessel at that point, when you're willing to accept the abuse and with a positive attitude, like not let it make you negative. Like keep a positive attitude as you're going after your people. That's very, very big for God. So I've noticed that. I've realized that God has been using me more and more. The more I sacrifice my own, desires and peace of mind to go after the people, regardless of how ignorant they may be or how much full of self-hatred they may have or their own history. I'm going after them regardless, and regardless of how they respond. I'm not looking for them to respond in a certain manner. I'm just doing my mission. So I'm a worthy vessel for God at that point.
And with that said, like being more stoic with other people, I think there's a quote that says, have a high standard for yourself, but be very tolerant to others, which is kind of what you're relaying with that message. As you go throughout that, have you noticed how on this streak or just on this journey that you kind of are detaching or are making it like a bigger gap in between yourself, your path versus the normal general stuff that people are going with? And are you seeing a divide with relationships with other people, with just overall connecting with other people that are just kind of on that lower state of consciousness? Or are you trying to kind of come down to that level and bring them up with you?
Yeah, you have to. You cannot give up on the people, because God will give up on you. So your job is not to be in your ego in this mission. Your job is to be willing to sacrifice your own self, your own mind, to go after them. So you can't be detached. You have to find a way to attach. If they're detached, you got to find a way to go after them. That's what all the prophets did. That's what all the worthy men of God that I remember, that's what they all did. They went and fished the people. They went out and sought after the people. The people wasn't looking for the righteous. The righteous have to go after them to teach them and allow them to become aware. That's our job. They're too busy they're too busy in wickedness and filth. So they're not looking for righteousness. Like a pig that's in a slop trough is too busy looking for filth to eat. Its head is not up, it's down. So, and you have to get their attention to bring their head up, to even know that you're there. Because like I said, there are no divine righteous people as examples in the forefront. So you have to go after each person, whether that's through YouTube, whether that's in person, each person one at a time, however you decide to do it. It's our job to go after them, not for them to come to you.
So along this mission, as we all know, your physical body is like the vessel or the vehicle needed to act this out. Like you can have your mind operating properly, you can have your soul's mission and purpose aligned with that. But if you don't have your physical body in tuned and actually geared to actually take out on these missions and be strong and be healthy, you're not going to be able to do that. So let's tie in how the physical training, the physical aspect of your diet, your sleep, your recovery, and all that stuff adds into this overall mission, instead of an idea of I'm just gonna go get jacked just to look good for pictures, or just to look good in front of the girls, but actually to build up your temple where your soul and your mind reside, to actually take on your message and just provide it to the world, and just actually become the best version of yourself throughout your mind, body, and soul.
Yeah, my job is not to convince people. My job is to be an example, to relate a message in a clear and proper way, and then allow them to make the decision. Once I make you aware, then that's when God's punishment or his reward will take over for the disbeliever. Whether you believe or disbelieve, once you have acknowledged what I've said is truth, then you have a responsibility to act out of that truth.
Mm-hmm.
If you deviate from that truth, then you're well on your way to self-destruction. Mm-hmm. So, as we've mentioned, many people are miseducated. They've been redirected in a wicked way. It's not their fault, but they have been programmed in a way of self-destruction, where they are willing participants of their own destruction. So, yeah, they want the body to get all this unnecessary attention because they don't see the big picture. Because when you have wicked intentions, you don't have self-love or self-worth or self-value. You're only looking for pleasure. That's what the wicked do. They only seek pleasure, physical pleasure, because they don't have the spiritual pleasure. So they're looking for physical pleasure. Spiritual pleasure is way greater than physical pleasure. But since they're not connected to their spiritual pleasure, then like an animal or like a child, they're looking for physical foreplay. So that is what you're witnessing with brothers like that, because they have not been taught. But they can come up, but they got to make up their mind. They don't have a lot of time, though.
Mm-hmm. And with that, like, with the whole idea of just people being able to find not the physical pleasures in life, but the actual spiritual that actually brings bliss and everything to it, what would you say is the main keys to doing that, other than truth, following the righteous principles, celibacy, semen retention? What are some more practical ways where people can just take from this podcast and apply it to their lives directly, and it's more of a smooth and easier progression than something that might be as difficult as semen retention or celibacy and all that stuff?
You got to be willing to be reborn. You got to be willing to die. The person who you are right now, you got to be willing to give that up. If you're not willing to give that up for the betterment, then you're just playing with yourself. And once that knowledge, if you don't have the knowledge, you don't know which way to go. Once they connect to truth and with the knowledge, they'll be more equipped to sustain the righteous path. If you don't have the knowledge, you're not going to be on the righteous path. Elijah Muhammad brought that in the 1930s, and it has been in America since then. So the truth is there, but until you accept that as your reality and change and live according to that, then you're wasting your own time.
Mm-hmm. And is there any recommendation?
Go ahead. Well, you're not going to witness the fruits of that, because you're playing with it. Like, you can't play with righteousness, man. You got to take it serious. It's a matter of life and death. Semen retention is a matter of life and death. Your diet is a matter of life and death. Your righteous principalities is a matter of life and death. And that's what you're witnessing in the world today. More people are dying because they're not tapped into their righteousness. So, they're their own worst enemy. That's the sad part.
Speaking on diet, like you just mentioned right there, I've seen that you promote 1 meal a day. And let's talk about how you first came across that. What made you try it out for yourself? What were some of the effects of having a one meal a day diet, and why you promote it and think it's the right way to go?
And I have an ebook, 7 Simple Secrets to Doubling Muscle Gains, where I break this down, because in the fitness world, especially, many gym goers, men and women, think that They have to eat 5, 6, 7 meals a day throughout the day with all these synthetic products like protein powder, pre-workout, when all that stuff is just designed to kill them and take their money. See, your body does not need that. Your body needs electricity. Your body needs oxygen. Your body is a living organism. And if you're putting dead food and dead chemicals in your body, it's killing your body. It's killing your mind, your nervous system, your organs. And it's not a quick death. It's not like you die right away, but it's killing you. And it's clogging your intestines, which is limiting oxygen to the brain. And the brain job is to heal the body. So if there's no oxygen getting to the brain, it can't heal the body. So that affects your physical results. You're trying to build muscle or whatever, or recover from a illness. All of that is determined by the level of oxygen getting to the brain. So if there's no oxygen getting to the brain, you're going to stay a diabetic. You're going to stay with cancer. You're going to stay with these sicknesses, and you're going to stay not building muscle properly, because putting your body through conditions, the brain is what heals that. The brain is what helps the body on that process. So if there's no oxygen getting to the brain, it's like you're like a zombie. And that's what you see. And, the pharmaceutical industry want it like that, because they make money with you just going there, buying pills and powders. So people are like walking corpses, man. It's like, and like I said, they don't have any examples. They don't see examples of people who are doing it the right way. So they're just doing it because they think that's the only way to go. And that's very, very unfortunate, man. I'm telling you. I really feel sorry for people, man, because they have been truly tricked and okey-doke, and it's affecting their mind, it's affecting their mood, their attitude, their spirit, their energy, everything. So I talk about that in my ebook, and I give the right direction. I talk about the value of intermittent fasting, which is 1 meal a day, which helps oxygen get to the brain, which helps the body recover, the cells rejuvenate. That is how you build muscle, not taking protein powder, but the cells of your body is what help build muscle. Blood circulation, oxygen to the body, nutrients, body having nutrition. That's what helps build muscle. Because I eat very little. I take moringa, which is a superfood. It mainly grows in Africa, India, and Southeast Asia. It grows in America too, like Florida and tropical climates. But it's a powerful herb that gives your body the nutrients and oxygen that it needs. But if you're eating more than 1 meal a day, then your body can't recover, because it takes about 24 hours for the body to heal. So if you're eating more than 1 meal a day, it takes about 72 hours to digest a meal fully. But it takes about 24 hours for that meal to break down. So it's best to eat at least 1 meal a day, and at the most 1 meal every 3 days. So that's the best way to do it, to build muscle. You don't want to exceed 3 days. You can, but you don't have to. It's not necessary. That's how you will really stay healthy and purified, blood pure, But yeah, that's the way it goes, and that's an unknown method in America, especially because, like I mentioned, we've been taught by those in the pharmaceutical industry. So they want you to get sick. They want you to buy all these synthetic products, and they want to hook you on drugs. But my method takes people off of drugs, take people off of synthetic products, and give them the right information on herbs and proper foods, alkaline blood circulation. That's how you stay healthy, and that's how you build the best body. It takes longer, but that's the only way to go, because I don't want a quick body. I want to put in the work anyway.
And are you eating larger meals, or is it just more of a regular size meal once a day, or is it just like kind of packing all your calories and stuff into one meal, or one meal every 3 days, like you just said?
Yeah, so with water, for an example, they say drink a gallon of water, right? Or 8 glasses of water. But you're supposed to drink the amount of water. If you weigh, let's say if I weigh, like I'm 190, right? Then I'm supposed to drink 8 ounces of water. So whatever you weigh in pounds, you drink half in ounces. That's with any person. So if somebody's 400 pounds, they drink 200 ounces of water. If I'm 100 pounds, I drink 50 ounces. Those two are not supposed to drink the same amount of water. But again, this is the lack of knowledge and misinformation that we have been taught. So you're not supposed to just eat random amounts of food and drink random amounts of water. It has to be in harmony with your genetic composition and your amount of weight and blood flow. That's how you're supposed to do it. So the same thing goes with protein or nutrition. You want to eat half of what you weigh in pounds and ounces. So with food, with protein, you want to eat half of that in ounces. With nutrition, if I weigh 190, well, with moringa, it's a little different because that's a seed. It's an herb. I eat the seed. You can make it into a tea, or you can make it into you can eat the leaves. So with that, it's a little different because, your body can take a little more of that in because those are nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to food, then you want to eat half of what you weigh in pounds, in ounces. That is how much you're supposed to eat. And that's not a lot, but your body doesn't need a lot of food. And these are the people who used to live a long time, and back in the ancient days, they ate and drank according to this law, and they lived a very long time, and they were able to tap into all kind of spiritual powers because they were not neglecting their health.
And where did you kind of come across this idea and philosophy when it comes to food, and how long have you been implementing it into your own daily life?
Probably since my freshman year in college. So that was 2011. That's when I first started eating 1 meal a day. That's when I first started my nutritional journey. Before that, I was like 19, 18. I didn't really know much about nutrition. I've always been working out, but didn't have the right idea about nutrition. But I started studying. I just started doing my own research, going against the grain. And by the grace of God, I've helped so many people. I've healed a lot of people. I've helped a lot of guys build tremendous physiques. And I had them go in a total opposite direction. Eat 1 meal a day, train slow twitch, fast twitch. You don't got to lift heavy. You can lift heavy sometimes, but mainly slow twitch, fast twitch exercises, calisthenics, plyometrics, and you'll build the best body ever. You got to push yourself though, because you're not dependent on steroids and synthetic products. You got to push your body, but your results are going to be way better than any of those guys who take those synthetic products. Because as soon as they stop taking protein powder and steroids, in 24 hours, they're going to see a difference in their body. Once you stop taking those synthetic drugs, your body's going to crash. You're going to lose everything. So that shows you that you shouldn't be taking it. So you want to be as natural and organic as possible and build muscle the right way, and you can do it. You just need the right guidance, and I offer that guidance.
Mm-hmm. And have you had anyone ever come up to you, probably at these Miami beaches and stuff like that, think that you're on those synthetic drugs?
Of course, because that's all they see. They never heard about 1 meal a day in moringa and drinking water to build muscle. They never heard that. Like, how you eat 1 meal a day and just eat moringa and drink water and you look like that? Because it's because you haven't been taught. It's because you haven't been shown. But if you were to try it, you'll see. And people who deny it never even tried it. It's like, how you gonna knock it before you try it? And this is the healthiest way to do it. You don't want to, if you research those ingredients in this food and these synthetic products that stuff causes cancer. It causes all kind of health issues. So you should actually want to try it this way, because my way is the most natural, healthy way. It doesn't matter how you physically look. It's all about your health and your mental health, because your physical health can lead to, or your physical illness can lead to mental illness.
Yeah, the gut and the brain are so interconnected. They have
your gut is your second brain. Your gut is your brain. Yeah.
Most people don't really realize that even too. Like, why am I so moody, or why am I depressed? Why am I anxious? Like, it could be, yes, your thoughts, but also those thoughts are influenced by the type of food that you're putting into your stomach, the type of water you're even drinking, the type of water that you're showering.
It's their diet. So they're being attacked. Satan is attacking people on so many levels, dude. It's your diet, it's your attitude, it's your lack of knowledge, it's your wicked behavior, it's your lack of integrity. All of that is what's killing you. But you have the power to change. Only you can change that. You can't blame nobody else. Only you as an individual can change that. Or with all these, stay on that path.
Yeah. And with all these attacks coming at you, like you just said, and how you mentioned where knowledge is the power that really gives you the ability to kind of dictate how you can get out of this spiritual warfare, or have the tools needed to actually battle
information is power. Information will determine your knowledge. Like if I give you the wrong information, you got the wrong knowledge. So knowledge is the after effect. Information is what's more important. You got to get the right information, because when I inform you, I'm inform means to formally introduce something to someone, which means they internalize what you tell them and they practice it. So if I give you the wrong information, then then you're ill-informed. That means that you won't be successful, and that wrong information will have you wrong. But if I give you the right information, that's the problem. People have trusted the wrong people with their minds. We've trusted Satan with our minds and our spirit. That's why we're in this condition. It's not shock, but God allowed it. Like I said earlier, God had to allow Satan to give Satan the influence and authority to trick humanity, to be on this. But this was not an accident. This was divinely ordained, brother. The prophets ordained all of this. All of this that we're dealing with right now in 2023 was divinely ordained, and it's been in effect for thousands of years. It's not new. It's been in effect for a long time, but we don't realize that because we've been so tricked and miseducated and dumbed down. We think this just happened by osmosis, like it just came out of nowhere. This has been a 6,000-year process, man, to get the world to this condition. It didn't just happen like this out of the blue, clear blue sky. It took a long time for humanity to fall,
And with that idea of like the information, where would you say, with the world filled with the wrong information, where does one look? Where does one search for this stuff? Because for the people listening to this, to the people out there watching this, they're kind of understanding this. Is kind of, they're picking up what we're putting down, but they're also kind of realizing that, man, there's just so many different attacks coming at me from all different angles, from angles I can't even see, blindsiding me. Where is the information that I can get to actually provide me with the knowledge, like you just said, that will allow them to be guarded, that will allow them to be...
No, I'll provide them with the right information. They just got to hit me up directly, and then we can go from there. Because people hit me up all the time from my YouTube channel and from Instagram. And dude, I'm reforming humanity by the grace of God. Like the information that I've tapped into, because all of it you can't read. A lot of it I channel directly from God. I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of it I get directly from the source. But I also can provide proof of what I'm saying, scientific proof of what I'm saying. So they can hit me directly up and we can talk more.
That's another cool topic that we can get into. The idea of channeling, like what does that mean for the people that don't know it, and how has it been influenced into your life? And also kind of going back to what we said before, spirituality, celibacy, semen retention, how does that influence and impact your ability to channel and get these what I call them are universal downloads, that you kind of like, you're just walking about your day and you just get a crazy insight, your intuition is clicking, and you're kind of just being used as a vessel to act out these ideas from a higher source.
You just said it, my brother. You just answered your own question. Yeah, that's it. Like that's for the righteous. Like God permits that. That's not something people can just tap into because they want to. You have to earn that. It's requirements to become a vessel and become a channeler. That's not something you just tap into. You have to earn that. And it takes tremendous sacrifice and righteousness. I'm telling you, you cannot get away from living righteous, man. I'll be telling people, they may not be mature enough to understand, but you will not get away from that. Either you live it or you don't. You cannot half-step that. You cannot be a hypocrite in your righteousness. You have to live it or leave it alone. Because then you don't have to ask God to make you a channeler. God is going to automatically do it. You're going to naturally tap into, like I said, those powers that are in you that need to blossom. That's it. Those powers will blossom and you will naturally become more awakened and alert and alive. And it will be natural for you to channel. It'll just be, you'll start to live again. Like that's your nature. That's your powers within you. It's not something that is so difficult to do, but you have to cultivate those powers. And the only way you can do that is by living righteous, and it's with God's permission, ultimately. Those out there who are listening, they can listen to us and get this from us, and we have become channelers because of our sacrifice. But God chooses people for certain things. But until you make up your mind that you want to change your behavior and become more righteous and godly, then forget about it.
100%, 100%. And funny enough, like what you were saying about all these things that you're practicing, semen retention, 1 meal a day, fasting. If you look back at some of the greatest prophets, holy men of time, they combine all that together, and those were like the moments where they got those crazy universal downloads. Like let's say Moses with the 10 Commandments, or Buddha under the tree meditating for enlightenment. They were on 40-day fast. They were of course celibate, this and that, and all those laws and those philosophies of life from God came down to them. So what was like some of the most profound moments of channeling for you?
Yeah, man, that's just me living righteous and overcoming the own. See, this is what I wanted to mention earlier too. All of us have a righteous nature and a wicked nature. So Satan is not some spook or idea. Satan is actually you, and so is God. The question is, which one will you serve? So in this society, they make it easy to serve Satan of self, because everything is revolved around physical pleasure and compromise and deviation. They do not promote the God of self or the righteous nature. So the Satan of self has to be mastered and overcome. Until you kill the Satan of self, until you master the Satan of self and overcome your own physical desires and lusts, you're not living. And God cannot use you. You're not ready to be a vessel. God cannot use you properly because he does not have your undivided attention. Satan is still calling the shots. So you can't serve God and Satan at the same time. You can't be dirty and clean at the same time. You can't go up and down at the same time. So that's a law in the universe. That's not my opinion. You can't go up and down at the same time. That's a fact. But some people might say what we're talking about is opinionated. But there are certain truths that are so scientifically profound that you can't say is opinionated. Like if I say this is hot and this is cold, that's not my opinion. Put your hand in here. You can determine that by the temperature and the degrees, whether it's hot or cold. So that's not opinionated. That's science. That's scientific proof. So there are certain truths that are that plain to see, and there are other truths that are more difficult to see. So Satan comes in those more difficult truths to unfold, to confuse the people, to get them off path. He don't come in no common sense truths. Most people know, up and down, left and right, hot and cold. Satan can't really manipulate that because that's so basic and common. He comes in the natures, in your weak points of your urges and your desires and your wants. Satan come in that fashion. So God permits that to test you, to see what you're made of. And that's where we're at with it. And we're at the end of that now. So you're witnessing Satan's fall. And the reason why so many people are losing and dying and falling is because they are falling with Satan. But the righteous, all is well with the righteous. The righteous are becoming more vibrant. We're becoming more successful. We're becoming more closer to God and to source. So there's no unsuccess for the righteous, only for the wicked.
And with that said, as you go on this righteous path, like we said before, how has it changed your view of, like what we talked about before, of your goals in life? It isn't so superficially based anymore, and it's more spiritual and fulfillment wise instead of just chasing fun. How has that impacted and influenced your life personally?
Righteousness?
Yeah, just overall this whole path. What were your goals before, and then what are your goals now while you're on it?
Yeah, I never had goals, my brother. Like I always planned, and like where I'm at right now, I didn't know I would be here. So I just walk in faith. I don't plan. Certain things I'll plan, like in my business, and I like to be proactive. But I walk in faith because I meet people every day. Like it's something great happens in my life almost every day, my brother, at this point. Like God is walking with me right now. So I don't know where my life is going to lead. I just walk in faith. But only righteous people understand that. If God is not with you, you don't feel that security. You don't feel that protection. You don't feel that safety. You don't feel that that protection, that God is with you. Only those who live righteous. So this is something that I have evolved to, because I always was on the righteous path, but I was young. I'm 31 years of age now, and even when I was a teenager, I was on the righteous path, but I was still learning and experimenting with principles because I didn't understand, and I didn't have people in my life teaching me this. This is something that I evolved toward. I had a lot of ignorant people in my life, our parents and that generation. You had select few who knew, but no one taught me this. This is something that I had to tap into on my own. So this path it's not going to be easy, but I accept it. Just like my workouts. I'm going to just give you a quick example. My workouts last between 4 and 6 hours. Like my workouts are very intense, very difficult, like weighted muscle ups, doing sets of 50 push-ups, 60, 70 push-ups straight, 25 pull-ups. Like that is a lot on the body. Lunges, weighted lunges, and working out for 4 to 6 hours at a time. That's a lot on your body. That's not easy. That can be uncomfortable. But I love it because I understand the benefit and the results that I will gain from working out 4 to 6 hours. Not that you have to work out that long. That's just what I do because it's spiritual mostly. But I love pushing my body. So me doing thousands of reps with calisthenics, then lifting the weights, that's difficult. That's not easy. Same thing in the spiritual world. Being willing to sacrifice, being willing to accept the challenge, being willing to, understand that God is in control. God is the narrator. Understand that this process God puts you through is to make you greater, to make you tap into your powers and humanity and your more divine higher self. That's what this process is all about. So it's not supposed to be easy. If it was easy, you wouldn't become stronger. Like if I do easy workouts, like if I just go in the gym and just bullshit, do 5 push-ups, 10 push-ups, 5 pull-ups, and then leave the gym, it's like, okay, I worked out, but I didn't push myself. It's like I just wasted my time. Same thing spiritually. If you're not being challenged, if you're not being pushed, if you're not being shown your weaknesses to strengthen your weaknesses, then you won't ever connect with source. And that's why I accept the righteous path, because I don't care how difficult it is. It's not difficult at all, because it's a lifestyle for me, because I understand it's to make me greater and to make me a more divine human being.
And on that path, when you're going about it, how do you differentiate between the universe or the God testing you versus Satan or the wicked attacking you? Or is it kind of both one and the same? Okay.
It's the same. God is going to use Satan. Satan works for God. God will allow Satan, just like he did with Job. Remember the scripture in Job? That was a very powerful scripture, because a righteous man of God was tested, and God used a wicked devil to test him, to allow him to become sick and lose everything, his family, his home, his wealth, his land. He lost everything and kept his faith, and God restored him. So God is going to test you with the things you love, with the things you want, not with the things you dislike. He's going to test you with the things that you want and what you love. And only God knows what those things are. But he's going to use Satan because Satan has authority. Satan has power. I mean, not power, but Satan has influence. So God is ultimately the one behind it. But he's testing you to see what your attitude is like going through trials and tribulations. Are you going through your trials complaining, cursing God? Are you going through your trials and tribulations with a negative attitude? Or are you going through your trials and tribulations with a positive attitude, knowing that God is with you and you're going to come out successful on the other end? See, that's what will determine the outcome of that individual. Because you can have 2 individuals, but they can be going in 2 different directions because of their attitude, one positive, one negative, their behavior. All of that will determine their outcome.
So the perspective of these tests will eventually materialize in how it produces in your life, is what you're saying?
Yeah, and it's an evolutionary thing. So the more you overcome your trials, the greater you come up, the more God bless you, the more God rewards you. and then your trials become heavier. And I
Mm-hmm.
like to use semen retention as an example because a gentleman hit me up recently. I don't want to say his name, a 35-year-old brother, and he had just relapsed or, wasted his seed, and he was feeling extremely depressed. So he actually texted me and told me that he was feeling depressed, and he didn't expect me to call him. He was just asking for some advice, but I'm automatically going to call because I love talking about this and having these conversations and uplifting our people. So I called him and we had a conversation similar to this, and I was telling him that urge is actually a test for your powers. So the reason why that urge is so strong is because God has to test you to see, will you bow to the urge. If the urge is not strong, then you won't be tested. The urge has to be strong to see how you handle the urge. Every time you overcome just semen retention, this is just an example. This goes for anything, but I'm gonna just use semen retention right now as an example. Every time you overcome that urge to have sex or be stimulated or to watch images, whatever that may be, every day, the next day, you wake up with more energy and more power. Every time, and then you might go a week without that urge. After you overcome, then you might be good for a week, and then it hits you out of nowhere again, and then you overcome it again. Then you get stronger and more powerful. Then now your brain is becoming. That's how you tap into greater brain percentages as well. A lot of people don't know that. That's how you actually gain more access to your brain power, is by overcoming your weaknesses. The brain gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, and your spirit is really driving your mind. It's driving your brain power. This is what a lot of these scientists, they really spiritually immature. They don't understand this. Everything is carnal and physical with them. They will never understand this because God only gives this to certain people. God only permits this to certain people. I don't care how much influence you have, how much money you have. That don't mean God authorizes you. That don't mean that God gives you authority. Just because you have some authority in Satan's world, it doesn't mean God is necessarily with you. So those who God are using have greater mind power, and they're using greater brain percentage because God is using them. And the longer they go on that journey, the more brain power they will tap into. So I don't know where my percentage is right now, but I know that I'm far further ahead than I was years ago. I know that my brain power is much greater than it is now, just from the manifestation powers I've tapped into. I can speak things into reality now, not in a lustful, vain way, but I can speak things into reality if it's in harmony with the righteous law of God, and it is, because I would never speak anything wicked into reality, only righteousness. So God is permitting me greater power in manifestation, and those powers will increase the longer I go. And I'm going to continue to be tested and tried. And the level I'm on, my trials are going to be even heavier because I claim to be the righteous and I claim to be a servant of God. So my tests are going to be very, very difficult in the near future. They're going to be very heavy because God is going to test the quality of my righteousness in my heart. And I tell God, please test me. I'm open to that. I want to show God that I'm worthy and that I'm strong enough to be a vessel for God and a servant.
So as those tests get heavier, like you just said, your reward at the back end gets larger and larger. I like to say there's a saying I go with, where with new devils, like new challenges, comes new levels. Like you unlock like a video game. You just get more perks, more accolades.
That's all we living in. We're living in a big video game. That's all this world is. This world is a virtual reality, just on a, like, what they show you on the internet, virtual reality. This is a more divine virtual reality. It's on a much higher level because you have human beings operating out of that video game. So it's a whole nother level. But these bodies we're operating out of is our vessel. This is the container. This is not who you really are. This is just your physical vehicle. The soul is your virtual reality. That's what you're actually looking through. These eyes that we're looking through is actually your reality. So it's powerful, man. It's extremely powerful. And the enemy, Satan, has studied God. That's how they know. They've come out with video games and virtual reality and Instagram because they study the nature of God. They study the laws in the universe. That's how they're able to sell the people, because they study God. If it wasn't for them studying God, they wouldn't have influence over the people. So Satan is a student of God. He's just he just He just takes people in the opposite direction. He takes people in the rebellious way, but he's a student of God.
Yeah, it takes what God's lessons and inverts it, flips it upside down. So it's same principles, but pointing in the wrong direction.
That's right. That's right. So the trials get heavier. So the more you go, you tap into greater trials, but you also tap into greater powers. So God is never going to put something on you that you can't handle. So you got to get stronger in order to handle the weight that God will put on you. So as you continue to overcome your trials and tribulations, you get stronger. People who don't evolve and stay stagnated, that's a very sad, miserable human being, because it's your nature to evolve. It's your nature not just physically evolve, it's our nature to want to mentally and spiritually evolve. If you're not evolving, you're extremely miserable right now. Yeah.
It's all part of the game.
Yeah.
So with that said, all this knowledge, all this information and wisdom that you dropped on us, what is one thing that you, or 2-3 things that you wish you could have told your younger self to put him on a fast track to where you are today? Kind of couple hints, tips that will really allow the person that is watching this type of video, watching this type of podcast, that's inclined to the righteous path, because you're not going to make it this far into the podcast if you're not. What would be kind of like the turbocharge or the real piece of advice that could really help them take this path to the next level and kind of jump steps along the way?
Live in truth, live righteous, live positive, overcome your own wickedness, negativity, and weaknesses. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't love anyone else. So you have to first learn to forgive yourself and learn to love yourself better. Learn to take care of this temple, this vessel that God has given you. Learn to take better care of it. Learn to take better care of what goes into your mind, and safeguard your thoughts against the wicked wiles of Satan and negative images and wicked energy. And just maintain your posture. If you don't know what righteousness is, then we can go into greater detail. They can hit us up directly, and we can break that down for them, because that is extremely important. But I would just, and if, like you mentioned, tell my young self, keep your faith in God. I always had faith in God, even though I was young in my faith, because I was a child. I always felt God's presence with me. I can be honest, but as I got in my teens, I was starting to lose it, because I was starting to put faith in my parents than in God, because I was transitioning. So that was my test. And that's okay, because that's natural, because you're young and you see your parents as God when you're young. But I was starting to lose my faith in God, taking the information that my ignorant parents were giving me. And I love my parents. I lost my mom when I was young. My father's still alive, but what they taught me was not meant for me to elevate, but it was what they were given. So it's not their fault. They were taught the same, and their parents were taught the same. So I would tell my younger self, keep your faith in God. Continue to strengthen your intuition and faith in God. And, you're going to evolve. As you get older, you're going to learn better. You're going to do better. So righteousness is not so difficult. It's not so complicated to find God. That's your birthright. Your birthright is to become one with God. The problem is we deviate and we rebel against God. That's when we start to lose power and die. When you come away from rebellion, you'll find yourself and you'll find God.
Beautiful. Love that. And with this whole idea of coming to God, and would you say that outside of everything in the material world, that is the divine mission and goal of all humans? Like, this is what we're meant to do, what we're brought here to do in different unique ways?
Okay, I'm sorry, what's the question?
I was saying the idea of becoming one with God. Would you say that is the divine mission and goal of all human beings, doing that in their own unique way? Or is it just for a select few and this and that get this type of information? Or is it applicable to everybody, but only the people that take that information, put it to use, actually get there?
Only those who accept it. Every human being in the world can accept this. You know, it's if they can make every human being right now can make it up in their mind that they're going to change their ways and live righteous and serve God. Every human being can make that decision. But will they? No, because many of them have given their life over to their completely given their life over to their underworld or their lower self. So they won't give their life over to God. They could, they have that choice, that ability. But only those who accept the mission are chosen by God, those who accept it.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well said. And before we wrap things up, do we got any like projects coming out, new videos that we can be up to date with, or any type of just overall work that you're currently working on behind the scenes that we can be anticipating down the line?
Yeah, I'm in the process of I want to open a recreation center here in Laurel, Maryland City, Laurel. So yeah, I'm in the process of that. And like I mentioned, I have my ebook, 7 Simple Secrets to Doubling Muscle Gains. I have diet plans available. Of course, those who may not understand the value of nutrition, we definitely got to talk about that, because that affects your mood and your mindset. So I can help them with all of that, and I can help them with their workout routine as well. But yeah, they can hit me up directly, and I would love to connect with your viewers and followers directly, man. That would be beautiful.
Yeah, I'm gonna put all this stuff in the description, but just give them a rundown of where they can catch you at.
Well, my Instagram is at JAQUE the Ripper. My email is tha.rippa4 and yeah, they can hit me directly. On my YouTube channel is at the Ripper 3010, and they can hit me there as well. So these are different platforms that they can communicate with us through. I also want to upload this on my YouTube as well.
I'll send it over.
Yeah, so I want access to this video, man, because this would be good for me to post on my YouTube. I should have been actually recording it this whole time, but I wasn't thinking.
I got you. No worries, bro.
Yeah, my brother. So yeah, that's great. So yeah, they can and they can, if they want to donate to the recreation center, I can post. If they would like to donate, they can reach out to me and say I want to help out with that as well, because that's a hell of a project. But it's going to be for the youth. It's going to be for elderly people. It's not going to be like a gym. It's going to be more pickleball, nutrition, herbs provided for the people there, and different like tennis, just recreational stuff. I will have some weights and calisthenic stuff as well, but I just want people to come to a place where they can just, get a nice workout in, have fun, play basketball, whatever the case may be. Pickleball is pretty popular here in Laurel. I just learned that, so that's something I want to bring forth as well. And then just to help a lot of older people, their bodies breaking down, knees bad, their back is bad. A lot of young people too, their bodies breaking down. So my goal is to continue to help them and heal them,
Love it, man. So with all that said, man, I appreciate you pulling up to the podcast, bro. That was a great conversation. We hit on damn near every topic you can think of. So it was a pleasure having you on, man. And if you ever want to do this on your channel, or we do another type of collaboration, man, I'm all for it.
Oh, let's do it. We connected now, my brother. So let's do it. And I appreciate you for extending this to me, because every chance I get, man, I love to share this information, man, because it is so important, especially in this climate and time we're living in right now.
No doubt, man. Appreciate you pulling up, and I'll see you next time. Peace.